All right, everyone. Welcome once again to this insightful webinar this afternoon, hosted by the Global Indian Diaspora. My name is Rakesh Malhotra. I'm the president and founder of Global Indian Diaspora, and I have with me Abhinav Raina, the General Secretary, and we are so blessed and honored that Consul General of India, Shri Somnath Ghosh, have consented to give his opening remark for this valuable seminar. Um, and Welcome, sir. Welcome to the this webinar. And we also have our keynote speaker, Mary Kennedy, with us. She is an eminent immigrant lawyer, and she's based out of Schaumburg, Illinois. And about the global Indian diaspora, our goal is basically connecting the culture and empowering the trade. We envision a future where an Indian diaspora plays a pivotal role in strengthening US-India relations, fostering innovative solutions, and contributing to a prosperous and interconnected global community. Without wasting any time, let me introduce and welcome Ambassador Ghosh. He's a career diplomat and he joined the Indian Foreign Services in 1997. In a span of his career over 26 years, he has been Ambassador of India to the Republic of Tajikistan and to Mongolia. Prior to that, he was Assistant High Commissioner of India in Bangladesh with consular jurisdiction of Chittagong and Sylhet Division, constituting eastern part of Bangladesh. In his career, apart from important assignments in New Delhi, he has worked in Moscow, Brussels, European Council and European Parliament and spent considerable time in Central Asia. Prior to joining the Consul General of India in Chicago with consular jurisdiction of 7 Midwest states, Ambassador Ghosh was heading the international cooperation work in the Ministry of Defense of India. In that capacity, he oversaw defense policy and negotiation with US, Russia, France, UK, and major multinational organization of India. We welcome you, sir. Welcome to this webinar. Primarily, we will be addressing the issues and challenges for the Indian diaspora navigating visas and consular matters in the United States. Welcome, Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you so much. Namaskar. A belated Thanksgiving wishes to all of you. I hope you have spent good time with family and friends. First of all, thank you, Rakesh Malhotra ji, and entire your team of Global Indian Diaspora Foundation for this good initiative. I think we should have lots of this initiative to understand what are the problems that the Indian diaspora face and to join our heads and thinking how best to tackle them. Not everything is in our hand, but still it is always good, always better, and I think constructive to know how people are also, tackling those problems and what are the new problems that are coming up. But before that, let me have a very quick move through what we do in the consulate. We have a total of 7 states in our jurisdiction. Of course, Illinois is there, then Michigan, Indiana, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So these are all Midwest states. Earlier, North and South Dakota was looked after from this consulate, but now there is one in Seattle. So our colleagues in Seattle are looking after. But anyway, in case of extreme urgency, we also give services to people when needed. We have 3 main work. One is the passport. In these, in our jurisdiction, there are about more than 600,000 Indian in our estimate. It's very difficult to put exact figure on that. People come back. The figures are on the whole increasing. It's also seasonal. Some of the season, a lot of families go home. So the number is slightly down, but it is still significant number. So out of the total number in Midwest and in entire United States, where there are about 5 million, roughly about less than 1/3, just less than 1/3 are Indian citizen. citizens and their dependents, and about two-thirds or slightly more are Indian origin people, of almost entirely American passport holders, some Canadian and other passport, but almost entirely American passport holders. And as you know, they are in different professions, in different situations. All of them, whether Indian or Indian passport. We have large number of Americans who are not otherwise of Indian origin. They also, uh, are closely related to us in various matters. So other than passport, we have the OCI service, Overseas Citizen of India, which started as PIO, but now it is Overseas Citizen of India, and visa services. These are the three main. There are many other. We have, in fact, I should say four, because there are miscellaneous consular services both for Indian citizens and NRI, and those who are Indian origin but OCI cardholder or otherwise a foreign citizens who need some work in India, some papers, various services that we have. We call it in the category miscellaneous consular services. Uh, Power of attorney, some document to be countersigned, etc., etc. Even somebody drawing a pension after some Indian public work, and every year they have to renew, you have to attest to the fact that the person is here and very much living, etc. There are a whole list of miscellaneous consular services. In fact, sometimes miscellaneous is so miscellaneous and so unique that we discover for the first time, and we try to, of course, help the best way that we can do. So these are the four main verticals. Other than that, of course, there are always accidents and unfortunate incidents, fatalities, etc. So in those occasions also, it's our priority to immediately attend to those and do the best what we can do in coordination and collaboration with both our community people as well as the local authorities. For example, the last weekend, unfortunately, we lost one student, Wisconsin. He was working in what capacity he was working, I don't know, but he was working. So some assailants came. They demanded, he was alone in a shop. They demanded money. He gave the money under under the threat of gun. But unfortunately, the assailants shot him before leaving, and he died on the spot. So we have such cases, and now the police process, all the legal process follow. We follow them up. We try to ensure that the victim get justice. In all cases so far, we got in recent cases. Some we are still pursuing. We make sure that if there is any compensation, any insurance that goes to the family, we make sure, or whenever the body is demanded, is asked by the next of kin in India, we say. So we do that, and I must say that the community and NGOs, the community, they come as a partner, a big partner for us. So these are the main work that we do. Our passport services are quite busy. Not only passport, various changes, miscellaneous passport services, and it's entirely online. What I have done, I have given Rakesh ji the website link and all the email and emergency phone number. I'll come to that one by one, so that it can be shared with all. Other than passport service, then OCI, a lot of service that we have to do. These two really keep us busy. Visa services, what happened? We welcome American citizens to India. In fact, for your information, after Bangladesh, till recent time, after Bangladesh, USA was the second largest foreigners footfall in India, which includes Indian origin foreign passport holder. So USA was the second largest after Bangladesh. I'm talking up till the recent difficulties in Bangladesh came up. So our visa services have gone down because most of the people are visiting India under e-visa. Many have OCI also. So coming back to the emergency services, we maintain an emergency contact number on our website that also I've shared with Rakeshji. So that contact number we receive even at night if there is a real emergency, but we clarify that emergency means death or accident or somebody really terminally ill and no time left, these type of circumstances. And we open office even weekend, even under minus 15 uh, Fahrenheit or even less, whatever time we do that, trying to facilitate in case of genuine needs. So these are the main, things that we do from consular point of view. Each point can be elaborated, and I can go on. But one point that I would like to really convey to each of the viewers here, that we often see that people don't go to our website and don't really, sometimes they don't have time, but we expect that. And not only we, wherever you go, whatever services, whether it's bank, whether it is any other organization, NGO, whether it is an organization based or public organization or government organization based in United States, first and foremost, we go to the website and see what are the information and facilitation available on the website and internet based facilitation. Whether passport, OCI, miscellaneous services, visa, everything is web based today. So first and foremost, I request everybody that please go to the website. What happens even in events, public events, sometimes I'm surrounded by people, they ask question, it's not possible to come up with answer to every situation, every question, every detail. So, and also it is expected that before clarification, which you may need in some cases, and we always prefer to have it on through email because people are changing and all are extremely busy on the work at hand. That we receive an email, we always respond. But before everything, please read the website. Please read do's and don'ts. Please read all the question answer. Even after that, I can imagine situation when there will be some clarification needed. And we are more than happy. It's our job to help you with clarification and with whatever help we can do. Before I finish, I conclude my remarks. I can't, really ignore the fact that whether you take the time of our, delivery of passport, the turning back, turning around time, whether it is visa, including, of course, e-visa, which is within 72 hours, almost all cases, whether it is OCI, which is about a month, except for cases which are legally, there is some legal difficulty, by far, whichever authority we know, whichever other countries we know, and we follow also others, we by the criteria of turning around time, by the criteria of ease of doing that, we are certainly better than whatever we have seen. So I know there are complaints. There will be always complaints in wherever there are thousands of services are given. But in terms of accuracy, turnaround time, and web-based facilitation, I think there is not much to complain. But we'll always look forward to your suggestions to improve that. Since the topic of today's discussion is consular and I think general consular matter, of course, our diaspora face a lot of situation and challenges which are not in our hand, but that those belong to U.S. authorities. We know that challenges. We are constantly engaging the U.S. authorities at the highest level, mostly done through our embassy and our offices, our Ministry of External Affairs in India. We are constantly engaging, and things have improved from earlier times, whether there are visa issues of H-1B reforms, issues related to green card, family reunion, and many other things, many other things. So things have improved, but we hope that they will improve with time. But since those belongs to these things belong to these issues, not with us, so I'll not uh, comment at this stage further. We demand, not only we hope, we demand that all Indian citizens remain law-abiding, or and they follow the law of the land they are visiting or they have adopted as their country. And we sometimes face situations which happen for people not exactly following these principles. So we call upon everybody, of course, those who are here joining this webinar, uh, uh, they know other people. No, I'm not talking to them. That we should be the best community. We should be the golden benchmark uh, for all other communities in this country as a law-abiding, as a good citizen who follow each law in this country. That helps us in giving you better services and constantly progressing the situation better for tomorrow. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, uh, I have to leave early. The reason is that there is an Indian origin person who will be sworn in as a member of a council of a county. So I don't want to miss this opportunity. I want to witness that, swearing in ceremony as representative of India, because we are always happy when Indian origin people contribute and they become part of the society they live in, contribute to politics, they contribute to economics, they contribute to all endeavors of the society and make that society and community better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Ghosh. Thank you for your insightful information. And as you rightly said, we are all here as a brand ambassador of India.
I must mention, sorry, I must mention my thanks and congratulations to Mary and his team. Thank you. It's very useful, and thank you for taking out time and helping us, all of us.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Consulate. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Ghosh. As you rightly said, we are all the brand ambassador, and it's very important, and that's the whole objective of this webinar, that people should have the right information. We are able to, comply with all the laws of the land, and it's very important for us to know the status when it comes to Indian passport, whether it is expired or valid, what is the status of OCI, what is the status of our employment authorization. And a little disclaimer, we have lots of questions, and before Mary came in, before Mary starts speaking, there's a little disclaimer. In case you have any specific questions, we will highly recommend to please consult your attorney, and we'll try to help you and give you information. And the nature of this webinar is very informational. And at this time, let me introduce my colleague Abhinav Raina, who is a dynamic community and a tech entrepreneur. He's a co-founder of Global Indian Diaspora Foundation and host the ties between US and India with a passion of culture exchange and community service. He will be moderating this session with Mary. Let me invite Mr. Abhinav Raina to introduce formally Mary Kennedy. Abhinav ji, floor is with you.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. Once again, thank you. Very overwhelming response, and Somnath ji for your comments. Thank you very much, and also thank you for coming down to this virtual webinar as well. I'll start with first of all, I'm recovering from the flu, so let apologize me for that. But we were very excited to have this session because this is something that is a very important topic, something that as we as immigrants, and I'm also immigrant here, and then we face these challenges, these problems, and we look around and try to find out where do we find the solutions. So I was so happy to know that Mary has been there passionately working in this area and trying to help out people like us who have been facing these. So let me introduce her. So Mary Kennedy, she runs a law firm, very successful law firm called Law Office of Mary Kennedy. It's located in multiple locations, Schaumburg, Naperville, and Chicago downtown, and for last many years. She is also, I must mention that, also recipient of U.S. Presidential Award for voluntary service in 2022, which is considered one of the most prestigious national recognition by U.S. government. And as I said, she's very passionate about the community, especially Indian diaspora. She would go any length to help out anybody that gets into a situation where they need some legal advice. For example, somebody get into a very unfortunate situation of losing their husbands and getting into that. Many of these situations, she goes out of her way to really help out the community members and provide any support she can. So with that, I do want to start our discussions here. So what I've done is I received so many questions, and thank you all of you for providing those questions. I have compiled those, try to kind of summarize into different sets of questions, and I'll have that discussion with Mary and try to cover because with at least 60, 70 questions coming up, it's very difficult to address each and one individually. We'll try to do it very generic so that we cover it, yeah, each and every topic. Primarily H1B, H4, and then green card, and of course student visa, which is F1. So with that, I'll start with the question and let Mary speak about it, which is the question that comes everybody's mind, and that is what is going to happen. The new government is coming up. What is anticipated? I think that's the first question comes to everybody's mind. So I will let Mary please speak up and talk about that, and we'll go from there.
Good evening, everyone. Namaskar, Vanakkam. I'm deeply grateful to be present with the Honorable Consul General. Just a quick thank you note over here, Sri Somnath Ghosh. And this is very much, we have met in person a few times, but I'm very honored to be present on the same webinar along with you. Thank you so much for your presence. The same goes to Rakesh, Abhinav, and more important, thank you for organizing this by Global Indian Diaspora Foundation. Not taking much of time, I'll just step into the conversations and the flow of what is expected for this session. Coming back to, I'm very, very neutral when it comes to the political stand of it, bipartisan, and then whatever we are going to speak is generally from the perspective of immigration and how it's going to help each one of you being a non-immigrant or a prospective immigrant in this nation. So with that, that's a very good question, Abhinav. To start with, what's about the H-1B program? What is it anticipated? So the flow is definitely depending on 2016 to 20, and then what could be anticipated in the coming after the new government takes it over from January. With that anticipated, we don't have a solid answer for all those questions, but generally what could be the possibilities is what we are going to discuss about it. And as we all know, in April 2017, the Buy American that was, on towards the part of the Buy American and Hire American by an executive order in 2017, where the eligibility of the H-1B has been tightened. And based on that, we have some anticipated changes which happened earlier and which could be happening right now moving forward. So those are the changes, we are talking about it, we are discussing about it. And, we could go with the flow of the questions. Let it be a conversation.
So is there any possibility of suspension of premium processing? Because I know in between it was and then came back and now. So because that's also important one. So
that's correct. The premium processing is the additional fees that could be paid and your processing can be expedited. So there is a very good possibility that's going to be suspended. It's not going to be withdrawn or revoked, but there is a possibility because this happened earlier as well. So there is a possibility that could happen. So the one thing I would also ask whoever has been waiting to be filed for your H-1B within the 180 days, or even if it's longer than that, I would strongly recommend you to look at it, talk to your own counsel, attorneys, and then try to see if you could file for it right now, as there is a possibility an amendment come extension, so that you'll be assured of your 3 years. With that, I would say that.
So on the same line, there might be a question coming up because during the past Trump administration, if you are on H-1B and you get laid off, then earlier it was 60 days of grace period, and it was got down to 30 days. Now it's back to 60 days. So, so that's also probably one of the questions people ask that how's gonna be? Any idea on that?
Yeah, sure. So the 60 days grace period was by the Biden administration. So in that, case, which was helpful, the reason being they don't have to rush up to find another employer within the 30 days period of it. So it was by a memo, policy memo. As you all know, like we are all talking about the educated crowd over here. So they all know about it. What is a policy memo? So it was by a policy memo that 60 days was granted. Whenever there is a layoff that is happening, you will be having the 60 days period, which definitely, as it's a policy memo, it could be reversed back to 30 days.
Right. So is there any update on that B2 bridge petition, visa petition?
Yeah, that's a very good question as well. So the visa petition on the B2 visa was allowed if there is any H-1B that got laid off. And then in that kind of a scenario, what recently happens is like, they could get into a B2 visa when they are actively looking for their employment opportunity. And there was also a policy that was issued by the USCIS in between to say that even though the B2 limitations is for a very different purpose, which is the visiting purpose, and the intention is not to continue, but they recommended that being on the bridge visa, they could also attend some interviews, and then, the purpose could be just to extend their stay over here, whereas they could find an opportunity for them to get back to the H-1B, where there is a very, unfortunately, possibility that could not be the scenario moving forward.
Let's talk about scenario which is a good one. Will there be a salary requirement increase to level 4 or higher? Because, last we saw that in 2020, the wage-based salary selection rule got, you got to have the minimum wages like that, which helps, right? So you think that's going to happen? Because I think it happened in Trump administration. So maybe that will happen again, right?
Yeah. That's the very, the fear that I could see in so many places that's happening is like, because most of the software engineers come under level 2 wage level of it. So level 4 is something not that reasonable to be paid by the employers, because most of them work under the consulting companies. The Indian diaspora comes under that part of it. So practically speaking, it's very, very unfortunate they won't be
There's
paid
both
off.
sides. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
correct.
so,
In
so
that,
will
yeah.
on the same lines, will the third-party client placements results in a complex RFs that we get on a regular basis? Will there be any changes to them?
Yeah, so that comes to the level 4 as well as related scenario is placed under the third party, where they are not a direct employee or a H-1B holder of any bigger clients. Like, so for example, JP Morgan Chase might not want to do a direct H-1B. In that case, they will be placed through the major vendors or the consulting companies. That's how the H-1Bs majorly operate. So in those kind of a scenarios, it's definitely, it makes it a little harder for them to substantiate their H-1B position justification. So we are going to be waiting to see how it's going to work with the political change, and it's not going to be the same, very exactly the same how it worked earlier. There may be many compliances and documents addition to that, but it doesn't. I don't anticipate it's going to be that third party companies are going to be completely not able to file the H-1B, because that cannot be the scenario. That can be only by that's not going to be as simple as such. So I'm not anticipating that the consulting companies cannot be filing their H-1B, but definitely it's going to be tougher, and documentations have to be supported in regards to that.
You talked about documentation. There's of course tons of documentation. So what about the client letters? That there's a request to get the client letter. There is also request to get employer and employee relationship requirements. All those things. You foresee getting this getting a little tougher or maybe getting a little easy? Any idea on those front? Because that's also a critical portion. We end up spending so much time figuring that out.
Sure. Abhinav, actually, so the 2090 87 memo is still in place. There was a settlement agreement policy memo that came in that said there cannot be no more request from the USCIS on the client letters or a short-term approvals. I'm just reminding, as we are long away from that, in the last 4 years, we didn't see much of an client letter request, or in very limited scenarios, we asked for it, and we always quoted that 87 memo, which is in
Mhm.
place at this point of time. And that's also one of the reason I was recommending anyone who wants to file for their H-1B to start the process, even if it's a 1 year away. I would definitely recommend them to do that. This is very being proactive, and there is a possibility of an amendment extension that could be done, even if it's 180 days. At least they can be assured of the 3 years period.
Well, that's a very good point. Definitely a very good point. Um, Anything else to add? I wanted to kind of switch the gears and move to another topic or category, H4. But before that, anything else that you want to add on H1B side?
Sure. So just to wind up as a conclusion, as I said, the 3 years period, if you could be filing it for your extension, and then if you have a visa and you're traveling back, definitely try to travel back by January. There's not going to be an immediate travel ban for countries like India or someone. That's not anticipated, and that's not going to be stopping. The earlier reason was the travel ban was for a different purpose. So now we are not looking at immediately to have a travel ban or anything, but the consulate are also going to be very detailed moving forward. Whenever there is a political change, definitely that is getting reflected on the USCIS or the consulates and even the eyes and the visits of the FDNS. So coming back to this, just be alert about your documentations, which involves even just a simple I-94 expiry at the port of entry. If you have a shorter passports, definitely your I-94 reflects that rather than what you have on your H-1B approval. So these are all very simple things that could get complicated. So just be mindful and be proactively having those documentation pay stubs, and don't move around. If your LCA has been filed at a specific location, you're in compliance with your Department of Labor to be on the place where it has been filed for. Just because you're working remote doesn't allow you to go somewhere and work. These are all very highly, you have to be very highly on the proactive side of the compliance part of it. Just follow that so that you are on the safer side of your continuity of your non-immigrant status.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point. I think we should keep in mind. And yeah, thanks a lot. So let's move on to, as I said, a different section, which is H4 EAD. So maybe you can start with providing. I know most of us know H4, but maybe background about what is H4. We keep hearing only about H1Bs, but let's talk about H4, and also, is there any possibility of suspension of H4? Because we know it's primarily for spouse, but there's a possibility. So we want to understand and do's and don'ts or anything around that would be really helpful to shed some light.
Sure. H4, the most important questions comes under the H4 EAD part of it. And I was very surprised when there was also a question saying that can even a H4 itself can be suspended or revoked. I don't think you should be worrying about something that is not going to happen. H4 is always a dependent visa. I have very limited challenges that was faced even during the earlier, 2016-20. So H4 is always because they know that the families have to be together. And so as long as the H1B holder has been maintaining the status, it never happened. And coming back to the H4 EAD, which is very critical, and then it is approximately 100,000 people are being employed, and mostly are women, and being used by the Indian nationalities. So these are all very major concerns. If at all the H4 EAD has to be suspended or revoked, and how does it happen? Whether it's that easy as such. So the one thing I would say definitely, it was tried as well earlier period of time, whether, the revocation of the H4EADs through an executive memo and all those possibilities happened actually, but it didn't come to a place. There was a lawsuit that has been filed, and even only in August 2024, the decision was made. Still, they said, there is no way that that could be revoked actually. So with that assurance, I would say, yeah, H4EAD, there is very high skilled people who had been employed on the H4EAD. The major concern is going back again to the same, what we spoke about, Buy American and Hire American. So is there because of the H4EADs employed, is there the local citizens are being their jobs, they're getting lost, or what if they had been replaced? That's a main concern that is already going there. But the data are very different. And these people who had been employed on a high skill position has to be supporting the US on different bases. So with that data in hand and how they are economically contributing and everything, I'm not leaning towards at a place where it's going to be revoked or suspended as soon as possible.
So I think on the same line, there might be a question. I think there was a question somebody asked that. Is it better to switch from H4 to H1B if it is possible? If because some people want to take proactive measures and just in case something happens. What do you recommend? I mean, should we do that or we should not be worried about it? As I think my understanding is we shouldn't be, but that's the question that somebody asked.
That's correct, Abhinav. I would also agree to it. So even if there is any changes that is going to happen, it's not going to be immediately through an executive memo. So you will have some time for it where that is, like we will try our best, as I said earlier itself, as a community supporter. I'm always there for there are so many webinars. Every week we started having it, our own as well as other communities doing it. So we'll keep you updated, posted on any changes that is getting anticipated. At this time, don't have an unknown fear of just trying to do something before you. There are many advantages that is being there on a H4EAD. If you would have your own employment, there is no need of any sponsorship. So many are there which are very helpful for being on the H4EAD. So do not change it right away to that part of it. If you had been earlier had a H1B, any point of time, you can always go back to H1B as a cap exempt. So you know that as well. Even if you have exceeded your 6 year, you have an I-140 in place, you can always go back to that H1B. So that right now is not the right way to just switch back. Just keep in mind, you can always do that at a later point of time. As I said earlier, it's not going to happen that immediate. So it is, it's going to take time and it cannot be revoked by executive memo as such. So in that case, I wouldn't recommend immediately to do that, but we will keep you posted on any update that's going to be coming up.
Right. There was a question about the extension, the 540 days extension based on receipt notice. Will it be discontinued? And what is the anticipation? Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, sure. So the earlier, the current administration was graceful enough to give that as a policy memo, 540 days of extensions. If you even just file for a H4EAD, the reason being there was a lot more of delays that was happening because of other reasons. It's not very intentional to have it happen. So based on that, they said, if you even file for a receipt notice prior to your expiry of the EAD card, that was through a policy memo. So you could extend your work authorization for 540 days, not for every work, EAD card, but for very major part of it actually was able to do it. And especially the H4EADs falls under that category. So that was only through a policy memo. So there is a possibility that can definitely happen because policy memos always can be changed, revoked, suspended. So that is a possibility that we are looking at. So in that case, there is other options that is all available as well. So we can have another session or talk about it in detail when things are going to move forward in a solid way, and you have to be prepared for it.
So on the same line, what about L2 direct EAD? Do
Yeah,
you think that
that's
will be
also
the
through
role?
a
Yeah.
policy memo. And
Yeah.
I know most of the L1s dependents, L2s are making use of it. They don't even have to file in 765 EAD forms. So they are making use of it. There is a possibility that could also go back to file an EAD and then wait for it approved before you start your employment.
Um, I think on this line, I think I kind of compiled these questions. So uh, let's move on to topic of overall specific challenges that you have, green card and stuff like that. Anything else you want to add before I move on? Because
There are
visa,
some questions we have received, and Sanjana can read those questions.
uh,
Primarily, one of the important question is they are curious to know about the citizenship for newborn kids for H-1B holders.
Yeah, that's something, like so it's not going to be the one thing people are very much worried about it being on a non-immigrant visa. If it's going to be retroactively done, like in a, like so that's the major concern if I am understanding the question properly. So that's a major concern that most of us, right, Sanjana, our office as well gets the same question because they are being on a H1B and their children are born citizens. And this happened not immediately right now, earlier to it. So whether that's going to be retroactively, no, that's not, you shouldn't be worried about it. So retroactive is going to take a lot more of amendment changes to the constitutions and everything. So you shouldn't be worried about it. But moving forward is definitely questionable. The reason being that can always happen, even though it's not going to be because it has to be an amendment to the constitution. That's not going to be as easy as such by an executive memo or a policy change. And as you know, the regulations and the laws have to go through multiple process. So many, the proposition of the rules, and then how it has to be presented for the federal registration, public comments, and then the public notice period. So many things has to happen, and it's not going to be, even though I understand the majority is there with the Senate, and then, that's not going to be that quick as such. So we can be said that it's going to happen for the people who are, and my anticipation or my thought process, this is very personal to me, is there is a possibility that could be the citizen born children of this land is going to be only for immigrants, which means so many of the H1Bs and, as you all know, L1s and all those B2s, F1s come under the non-immigrant category. So that can be limited to immigrants, which is a green card holder having a child that is born will be a citizen, whereas it might not be for the non-immigrants. This is the other category of it, but it's not for people. It's going to be moving forward. And as said, it has to go through a very multiple process, and it's not going to happen within a matter of months. I would say year. And definitely there is a possibility 4 years with a majority for the new government is going to be there. And they could do it. Can it be done? Yes, that could be, but not immediately.
so Marianne, I did compile and talk about another topic, which is it comes to everybody's mind is green card processing, backlog, the time. It takes so much time. So is there any possibility, something that happened in 2020, I got, it moved forward. So is there any possibility something similar can happen now, hopefully, with new government coming in? So what are anticipation on that line?
Yeah. So the major anticipation on the Indian nationality is, like the 2020 happened with the spillover because of the travel ban, followed by the COVID scenario.
Mhm.
So both of, most of the green card approvals are through consulates, even though if you're in country in other visas like H1B and your priority dates are current, then you can adjust your status. But most of the approvals of the green card is through the consulate process as such. So in those cases, what happened was the travel ban that happened with the executive memo, and then the COVID that suspended the consulates having the interviews for those green permanent resident card approvals. So that enabled the spillover to the employment based, from the family based to that of the employment based. I don't anticipate that huge number that happened, 240,000. And then, I don't remember the numbers as of now, but that was a huge spillover. But I
Yeah.
don't think so, right? That's not going to be happening
Mm.
sooner. Right. But definitely there is a possibility on that that could be happening. Like because there is also the new government is not very looking forward for the asylum, the refugees approvals, as well as the diversity lottery programs, which is not available for the Indian citizens. But again, like it's overall. So those kind of, in case it's going to be suspended or something, there is a spillover possibilities, but it could be happening only by October 2025, not sooner to that, because they have to wait for the numbers to be moving forward. So one thought or recommendation I would say on towards that is also, if you are on 2013, 14, 15, I am not saying that, as we always said on the legal disclaimer, as that this is not going to be a legal advice, because each individual situation is very different. But keeping in mind what happened earlier, if you're under an EB2 category, just to be on the proactive, safer side, you just please be prepare yourself for the EB3 as well. As you all know, most of you know or understand that you can always have both the priority dates on I-140s that can be approved on the same perm labor, actually, even if it has expired. You can maintain both EB2 and the EB3 priority dates available for you based on the perm labor, as long as your employer is supporting that. This is very important. You can't do it on your own. Don't call us or text us back to say that I'm interested to that. That cannot happen. Just talk to your employer. We can always provide more information on this. As Sanjana is also in the call, we can provide you some emails where you can send us an email about understanding little more in detail. But if you're in that category, 2013 and 14 priority dates, and then 15 as well, just try to see that if you can have both EB2 and the EB3 I-140s approved, with retaining both the priority dates, so that you could be prepared in case there is any move forward, any moment that can happen, you will be prepared for it.
So that's really helpful. I know a couple of my friends last time they did it, and it really helped them. So, but yeah, again, as you said, legally do convey and reach out to your legal advisors. Um, there's another question which actually a friend of mine had the same situation rather. Um, People who immigrate here are still on H1 waiting for their green card, but the kids have grown age of 21 and beyond. So what about them? Because that situation arises now. As adults, they will have to look for their own H1s or so it's very unfortunate situation, but that happens on a regular basis. So any advice or anything for them?
Sure. I take this opportunity, actually, even Global Indian Diaspora as well, to support or lobby that, and then working with other community organizations. This is very, very important. I see that on a very regular basis. Most of the Indian born citizens who have come here on a H1B or a non-immigrant visas in the 2000, earlier period of it, 2014 or 13, 14, those period of time, they're at a place where their children are aging out to between going to a college education itself. They find it very hard because they come under the international student category, even though they are an H4, and by the age of 21 they are no longer to be dependent on the H1B, so they have to find their own independent status, and most of them have to switch back to F1. When they do that, F1 is the only most prominent change of status they could be doing it before even reaching 21. As they enter into the college, there are limitations of H4 cannot be employed on campus or anywhere. So they are forced to take the H1B F1 status. And then in that case, they are paying the fees of international students, even though they are being a resident. And I understand there are many limitations depending on the state where they are in. But it's a very highly concern for me personally also. I feel that there should be something that has to be done for these children aging out when they are 21. They had spent so long of their age, like for some of them would have come when they are 6, 7 years, and then still they are waiting for the parents to get their permanent resident card. If they are not able to file the 485, which is an unfortunate situation at this time, looking back at the backlog of the the permanent resident card, it's very, very unfortunate. When we look back the data, it says like 54 to 200 years, which by the time, I don't know what more to say about it. So in those kind of a situation, these children are, when they age out, they get into the same pattern of finding a lottery system to get their H1B, and then they have to find an employer to sponsor. And one more unfortunate situation, what about the special need children? So they cannot even, there's no other option for them, even though there is no exceptions for them. So in those kind of scenarios, when they are 21, it's so sad. And I genuinely say that that's very, very unfortunate. And they can't even move to F1 status. So those kind of scenarios are something that has to be addressed immediately, so that they cannot be, because to maintain your F1 status, you have to maintain certain credits with the school system. And those children are not able to do that. So then all that we are doing right now is on medical conditions on a B2 visa. How long it could be extended, we are just waiting on it. And this is a conversation that goes amongst the attorneys as well. What could be done for those special needs children who cannot even have an independent status?
Yeah, I know those are challenges. So now moving on to the last topic, because we talked about this 21 F1 visas. Um, a lot of students, there are hundreds of thousands of students here. So any changes we expect in the new government that in F1 visas status? Anything you think will be there?
Sure. As we are already on close the timeline as well, Abhinav. So I'll make it very brief. And as I said, I'm available to try to support in any means possible, even if it's going to be a particular topic for the F1 student visas. I would be willing to do that. As I see very many times, it's not only about their legal status, they need so much of an emotional status of them being there. They've just come on master's visas, and they're very much the consulates, if I'm right. They do Indian consulates. They face so much of a challenges, even to a level of taking their life just because they are not able to continue their maintain their status. So that's a very unfortunate situation. I would never, just be strong enough, reach out to people. There are help, there are support system that's available. So please do not, at any point of time, always I say that, you have your country of birth is still there, to just take you back to, just to welcome you back. So that's one thing I always say that to the student community. And coming back to the, F1 OPT or the CPT as well, as just be very, very intentional on choosing your right college, and then don't take things for granted. If you have to be a full-time and you have to file at the right time to maintain your status, that's the priority for what you had been here. Do not take it for granted. I have so many calls. They say that, oh, I didn't know about it. I would have done it to maintain your status. Connect with your DSOs on a very frequent basis. Make sure your service is on active status. If you have to file the OPTs, just do that. And then whatever the trainings that you have to be in compliance with, because last time as well, we experienced a lot of visits, FDNS visits, ICE visits, and so many frequent visits. So be on compliance on all that, what you could do. At this point, I understand the current administration was very favorable. They extended, they even, included so many other science STEM into the program, and then the OPTs was extended, the STEM OPTs for 24 months. It's a very generous support system that was happened to the F1 students, but this is not going to be the same. All that you could do at this point of time is be proactive from your side to maintain your status well. If you have a I-983 form that has to be submitted to the school, do it on time and maintain it. What kind of trainings you are going through with your employer? Your employer is not the, it's not to be burden on your employer. It's your responsibility to have your status maintained and then connect with the DSOs. We do a lot of reinstatement of status. All that is for a very simple timeline of what could have been done and could have been avoided. So these are some of the basic thought process, I would say, for the F1s. And I understand there is a lot more of questions that is also there in the chat or that has been received. Abhinav, I would ask you to help them out to let them know. We will definitely be replying back to their questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about that. Apart from that, we as Global Indian Diaspora Foundation organization reach out to us as well. We are here to connect you to the right people who can help you out. Don't get disheartened. I know a situation like Mary, you said, there are people who can definitely help out, do their best to kind of support you. So in a situation as a community together, we can support each other. I would say that. So yeah, we have received a lot of questions, a lot of Q&A. If we have a few more minutes, we can pick up some more questions from the chat. But otherwise, as Mary said, we'll compile all those questions and send it across to Mary and her firm, and then they will do the best to get back to those. And we got your email IDs as well, so we'll try to do the best. We wanted to make it very generic here, so that we can at least cover all the topics. But with that, Radhika, if you have Mary, if you have a few more minutes, we can take a couple of questions and then we can wrap it up.
Sure, Abhinav. I know, like there is few questions on the chat. I could also just quickly, considering the
Yes,
time,
please. Yeah,
right? I could just go ahead quickly on those questions. So is it
that would be
advisable?
awesome.
Sure. Thank you. No, so is it advisable for a H-1B to L1 visa with the current status? I would say definitely if you have the eligibility for an L1 visa, because L1 is not available for everyone. It's an intra-company transfer, so you should be eligible for the visa. If you have a prior status and then had been, working for the same employer, as you already have a H1B, it's not needed that you have to immediately transfer to that of an L1. The L1, if you are eligible for an L1A, which is the managerial or the executive position, then in that case, even not moving to L1 status, I would advise you if you can file your EB1C, which has a priority date of 2022. I would say just look into it to do that rather than just moving from H1 to L1. Right. And then the second question is my original H1B amendment approval is missing and have a digital copy. Yeah, that's a good question, Satish. So the consulates after the COVID were very cooperative to they're not demanding the original notice. So most of our employers are not even sending it by FedEx, the original of the approval of the H1B. So we see very, very generously they're accepting the copy of it. So if you have an amendment copy of your H1B approval, I don't think you should worry about it. You can definitely take it for your visa stamping, and whoever is your attorney, if they are going to be supporting, just have a word with them and you should be good enough to go. We have done multiple them. So I don't have to say that, oh, this is something you have to be precautionary about it. No, I would say definitely we are seeing it happening. So just you can have a copy of it and you don't have to wait for the original. And TN permit holder go for a full-time study in USA university while parking part-time. So this is a little more of a specific question. I know if a TN visa has been filed as an, as a full-time, you have to maintain the status. You can't just switch to part-time on your own. It has to be, you are under compliance, even though there is no LCA compliance on a TN visa, but there is an offer that has been agreed to be paid for you on a 1099 also is allowed on a TN visa, but you have to be on compliance with that. And then you can definitely study if you have if you can do that as a part-time student, you can do that. Even being on a H1B, you can always take some courses and study. So the same way you can do that as well. And then I just see perm approval timeline from, yeah, right. That's a very good concern actually. Is it okay to change job on EAD with pending 485 and data? Yeah, if you're on a EAD, there's not a mandatory recommend that you have to be 100% on complaints like a 60 days, 30 days route. But at the same time, you have to have an offer as long as your 485 is pending. Without an offer, you cannot be approved of your green card because that's a basic requirement of an offer, and then you are for a permanent residency to be approved. But this 14 days is not concerning me that much. And then, yeah, they have an offer. That's good. Then you can do that. Perm approval timeline. Yeah, that's very concerning. The perm, as I said in one of other webinar as well, is for a perm to be applied for, please, if you're in a new H-1B status, talk to your employer and start the process by the first year itself, because it's taking very horrible timeline, like a 14, 15 months for a perm to be approved. This is the longest. The Department of Labor doesn't, work on fees that has been paid like the USCIS. So in that case, it's becoming so hard. All that they say is it's not about the administration or the changes that happened. It's their staff. They are under staff. That's what they keep saying. They're trying to improve it. And so in that case, nothing much could be done except that they keep saying that they are trying their best to do that. I hope they can even get some paid fees, and then they can do the processing in a faster way. But all that from your side is be prepared if you have not applied for the perm, whether you decide about it at a later point of time, but just talk to your employer and get the perm process started. Just a quick few questions. We can do that. My H-1B amendment come extension filed on May. It has been more than 6 months. What would you suggest? Yeah, in that case, I would, not many times I would ask someone to go for a premium processing. The reason being 2805 and then plus the attorney fees for the upgrading the process and everything, but it's very delayed. Even the earlier Nebraska Service Center on the H-1Bs, which was very faster earlier point of time, 1.5 to 2 months, is very much delayed. We see the delay with the USCIS on the H-1B processing. And to make it safer for you, I would definitely recommend you to go for a premium processing at this point of time. Will H-1B change on day one, or it will say already applied regular processing H-1B, but still needs to, is it okay to continue? I would say as the same answer for you, Anuja. I don't expect any changes immediately on the first day because their priorities, the new government's priorities are very different. They are very much concerned about the borders and everything, and the H-1B priority is not immediately, even though eventually it could definitely happen. But even then, the premium processing fees that you're going to pay is worth it. So just go for it. I have approved I-140 from my old employer. Do I need to apply for PERM or I-140 approved? Who's more of consultancy firm? Yes. So if your old employer I-140, the priority dates can always be portable, and then you can carry that the priority dates for any next process or one, as long as you had been maintained, you just your I-140 has been withdrawn after 180 days of approval. You can always have the priority date ported with you, but you cannot. The concern here is the new employer. Say, for example, your priority dates are moving forward, and you're ready to file the 485. In that case, if you don't have an offer from the old employer, either you have to have a new perm and an I-140 by the new employer, or the old employer has to agree to file for your 485. So because 485J has to be signed by the same employer who filed your perm and the I-140. So in that case, whenever there is you're not continuing the old employer, it's very, very proactive for you, irrespective of the priority dates getting moved or anything, to ask them to file a perm and an I-140 and keep it with you. That's very, very important for you to do that. I think Abhinav and Rakesh, can we just take a few more
We can
questions?
take this last question. I know we are already
Running
exceeded the time, and you can take this last question and we'll wrap it then.
Sure, thank you. Now the government is changing. Are there any specific documents to the H-1B visa interview? No, the regular set of documents, whatever is applicable with the pay stubs and the H-1B documentations and employment letter, all those are very mandatory. And then for now, I would say I wouldn't suggest you to get a client letter or anything, even though as long as if you're in a client and it's a third-party consultant that has filed for you, you can always get a support letter, but it's not mandatory. Oh, this alone, I will just do that. I'm also kind of a person when I see anything on the immigration side of it, I try my best to just do that. Just I'll finish up with this question, Abhinav and Rakesh. Yeah, can we file H-1B extension and amendment even with the, yes, that can be done. As long as it's an amendment, you can file it even if it's 11 months. If you are willing to go for it there is a way to do it. We could definitely help you out to make you understand that, and then amendment come extension can be done. Okay, and I'm stopping with this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. In fact, I was about to say that since we know now that there is someone who can always help us with the questions or the apprehensions or the queries. So please share your number and contact details. And if there is any newsletter, we'll pass those address who have registered with us so that this newsletter can be sent to them.
Sure, 'cause that will be, we can definitely do that. And also for the questions that has been received when they registered, we'll try our best to address it through an email. Just give us some time, at least a week time. We definitely
And
address it
for
actually.
the benefit of everyone, we have shared the telephone number and contact details of Kennedy Law Firm. So you can always reach out with specific questions or the specific case. She'll be able to respond to that. And I'm so thankful to Mary Kennedy and all of you who have joined, and also thankful to Mary Kennedy Law Office, Sanjana and Radhika also for taking the time and compiling this question. And Abhinav did very good job. Thank you, Abhinav ji. Despite flu, you conducted this Q&A. And there
Yeah,
are lots of questions, and it's very challenging for us to handle all these questions within a 60-minute time frame. But thank you for your patience, and I'm also thankful to the members of the media who have been very supportive. Indo-US Tribune or Diaspora Connect I-US Media, Funny Krishna ji, A3NN Media, TV Asia, Desi Talk, India Abroad, New India Abroad, India Tribune, and all the support organization. It is first in the series, and once this new administration takes shape, we might consider doing it one more time when we have more clarity. But thank you all for joining us and registering with this. Global Indian Diaspora is here to help facilitate, any questions or any queries or any issues we have. We are here for you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, everyone.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
once
Have a
again.
good rest
Again,
of the
thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Have a good
Abhinav,
one.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.